Exodus chapter 14, verse 5. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, the mind of Pharaoh and his servants was changed toward the people, and they said, "What is this we have done, that we have let Israel go from serving us?" So they heard, the people, I mean, it's like they let them go. They told them to get out of their sight. But it's maybe sometimes one of those things where you're so angry at someone, you just like, get out of my sight, kind of. And then the moment after you said it, after you kind of regret saying this, you didn't really mean like get out of my sight. You're just like at the spot where you had kind of no choice and you were just wanting to get rid of this problem for now. But then when you calm down and things go back to normal, you think about, no, in the heat of the moment, I said something which I wasn't supposed to say. So, what did I do? What did we do? How could we let them go? So their minds were changed ultimately, and they regretted doing this, even though they lost so much. But the loss they faced was nothing compared to ultimately this loss of a very cheap, near free workforce. And that is ultimately, it's one thing for Pharaoh to lose the firstborn, but he must like that other children, right? So it's not the end of the world kind of idea, but then from an economic point of view, this is really a huge backlash. And I mean, I understand it as well. The people group there in the north kind of is a buffer zone that would help as well. I mean, he had other countries further up north which could be regarded as buffer zones for them. So the attitude changed again. What have we done? What have we done? How could we let them go? Because they were serving us. They were working for us. What are we going to do now? Our own people don't. I mean, even today you can go back. You can go to the United Arab Emirates. You can go to Qatar and all those countries. I mean, it's like you have this pyramid there of the population, the age of the population, and you will find that they have very few, it's like exceptional in the sense of very few like children kind of, and then when you get to the working age, male and female, well, especially male population, it jumps, right? And now understandably that can't be their own people, because you can't from these little bit of groups of children get to this huge jump. Now, yes, the vast majority of the people living in that area, they are from either India or Pakistan or other countries where they are working for the people in Qatar and the Emirates they get a good salary compared to what they would get at home, but still not a very high salary, because they don't have enough of their own people who want to do that kind of a work. So the exact same thing that happened there in Egypt as well, with the Jews being their slaves. And you'll find the same thing and I've mentioned a number of times, the people doing all the building and the hard work in countries like in Germany, the Turks, or in Thailand, the Burmese refugees, or same for KL and other places, Cambodians, Laos, Vietnamese, go to Russia, the North Koreans these days. And so, what have we done? Verse 6. So he made ready his chariots and took his army with him, and took 600 chosen chariots and all the other chariots of Egypt with officers over all of them. Right? So he got his main weapons out, not just the sticks and the spears kind of idea, right? Just not this, or the sticks and the clubs or whatever, and to go and burn down a few villages. He got his crack soldiers out there. His most important. He got his tanks out there, his Abrams or his out there to go and get these guys back. So these chariots, I mean, that was his best weapons. They were famous for the chariots, the speed. You can go and watch Ben-Hur, right, movie, and you kind of see that kind of, even then, in action. Right? It put them in a class of their own, because they were the superpower of the day. That was the for their territory, understand me. You're not going to be able to always use those kinds of weapons in all kinds of territory. And so they took these 600 chosen chariots. Doesn't sound like a lot, and if you take into account the number of Jews, especially if you look at the 1.5, but people with sticks against, or no sticks even, or maybe a few swords against these kinds of chariots, they can't really do a lot, especially when they're not trained for warfare. Verse 8. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the people of Israel while the people of Israel were going out defiantly. So again, God hardened his heart. But remember, this is Pharaoh seeing. Right, so they saw the people walking around aimlessly there in the desert, and then the economic question as well involved. And so they're like, okay, we from our side already want to do something bad here to them. We want to get them back. And then God just forced Pharaoh, in other words, he let Pharaoh be Pharaoh by hardening his heart, by doing what Pharaoh wanted to do and not stop doing it. Verse 9, the Egyptians pursued them, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, and his horsemen and his army, and it overtook them and camped at the sea by Pi-hahiroth in front of Baal Zephon. Okay, so they pursued them and they caught up with them. With the horsemen, the chariots, everyone, they caught up with them. They didn't overtake them yet, right? They just caught up with them when they were there encamped at the sea. Now, we don't know how long they were encamped at the sea. In the movie, it seems like they came in the morning and then in the afternoon holding the stick, and during the night the wind's blowing kind of, and the next day they're kind of going through. We don't know exactly. They just said that they were encamped there. And this is then where Pharaoh and his people caught ultimately up with them.